getting to the point, then I'll get to the history. Add-ons at mozilla.org for Firefox. Disable Tab Detach. It's called Tab Detach or Tab Tear-Off. Or if you have a new version of the browser, relatively speaking, of Firefox, there's a feature hidden in the hidden feature menu or hidden feature page called about:config. And it's called Allow Tab Detach. If you look up the word detach or Allow Tab Detach, you should find that. And you can set it to false to where it turns off that feature. It's under browser.tabs and it's Allow Tab Detach. If you don't see it, you don't have the ability to edit that. Don't even bother trying to put it in. What you then do is you have to load in the add-on called Disable Tab Detach. Now, what is Tab Detach? Let's do the user interface for a web browser. You're looking at a page, let's say it's Google. You type in your search engine thing and you load up a bunch of pages with possible answers to your question because we're just asking Google to answer a question, obviously. Nobody looks up what they think they're looking up here. And I type in, what the hell's wrong with my browser? And it brings up hundreds of pages. Now, I don't want to click one and have it open that page and then have to hit the back button to go there for two reasons. One, sometimes you do that and the website you go to will immediately tell your browser, and it'll do it obediently, to erase its history so you can't go back. Yeah, that happens a lot, so we can't do that anymore. Okay, so since I don't want to deal with that possibility and I also don't want to hit the back and forward button, I'll right-click it and say Open a New Tab or Open a New Window. If I do Open a New Window, it's normally traditionally put off to the right side. It's not a full-screen window, and I can just bounce back and forth between them. Maybe that's your style. I open in a new tab, so it opens in a background tab, not the tab that's stuck in my face, and I can read it. Or I can actually just left-click it and just go to the page if I want. I have lots of options. When I open in a new tab, I can click the tab or click the other one and go back without having to hit the back and forward button. And if that tab tries to run a script to erase my history, oh well, I haven't lost everything, presumably. Now, if I open in a new window, most of those problems aren't even involved anymore. I can just close that window. When you open a new window, it takes up more RAM. And it can crash your computer or crash the browser or have it assume that it has to crash one of them and it has to flip a coin almost. So I always open in a new tab to lessen that possibility. So if I click the tab, I can also move them left to right to organize them because maybe I open them in the weird order and I need them in a certain order. This also lets me do presentations where I use a keyboard sequence to bounce back and forth between the different tabs in a specific order so I can do a presentation that way. It also makes it where I can make sense of the history of pages. Some websites chop up a whole book into multiple pages, so I just open them and literally it's like turning the pages of the book. Now, what could possibly go wrong that would cause your web browser to open a new window from the tab? I'm clicking the tab because I clicked here. Okay, I'm clicking the next page. And instead of it just going to it and I have all my tabs up, it decides to do the RAM-intensive activity of making a new window, opening that page there, and then erasing the tab from the original browser copy. That's a destructive process. I can't just go over here and drag it back. Because that was a problem, the newest version of Firefox, or well, not newest, but one of the newer ones, comes with the ability for you to drag the tab back over and close the old browser page. Because maybe you did it by accident. But they also responded to people complaining, since I can do that, there's also a feature where if you drag the tab downward a certain distance and hold it for a certain amount of time, like a quarter second, it opens a new window. Can we just turn that off because I never use it? And honestly, it sometimes does it only if I just click the tab. And why was that added in? So they put out a hidden feature, about:config is the hidden feature page, browser.tabs.allowTabDetach, and you hit false. Now there's an actual history to it, and you probably read it in the title. In 2011, a bug report showed up. Every time I click a tab, it opens it as a new window. I don't have any plugins or add-ons added in. This is the stock copy of Firefox. Why is it doing that? I've determined it's not me. I'm not dragging it. I only knew about dragging it to form a new window because I looked it up and that was, you must be dragging it. No, it's not a user error. I click it. Some of them even uploaded videos explaining it. Now, very quickly, someone showed up to do pushback. Some brigading happened. It's not a bug, it's a feature. We deliberately added that in. But it's supposed to require that you drag it a certain distance or do it for a certain time, right? And then somehow the person gets banned and the closed the answer. The bug report's been closed with the correct answer. We've done a great job here. It's totally cromulent. And you got to wonder if someone at Mozilla Foundation did this to just fuck people over. Because they've done that before. And since. Now, if you're not aware of why I'm being such a snotty little bitch about this, one of the things that Mozilla Foundation did a while ago is make it to where we weren't allowed to tell the browser to change tab behavior or any behavior because they got fed up with people writing one add-on after another to tell the browser to behave like what we wanted it to do when Mozilla was trying to make it all consistent for tablets and cell phones and websites to force a new standard where the user has no control over what happens, including locking down the tab bar, making it to where we can't move it anymore, and making it to where when we drag it left, right, or up and down, it gets angry at us and does things to seemingly punish us, and they admitted to it at one point, which meant a whole crew of them were fired or something. Totally not related to 2011, someone making it to where the utility or subroutine that figures out that you drag the tab a certain distance and held it for a certain time could have possibly been sandbagged just to piss people off because he got tired of people complaining. We don't know. How do you get away with that shit? So anyway, how long did it take them to fix it? 9 years. It took them 9 years to stick in a new feature, hidden in the About config, to turn it off completely so that we do not have the ability to turn a tab into a window by doing a gesture. If you're not aware of the drag and drop function, that's also called a gesture command. Like sign language. Me doing this, click and drag to the upper right, that's actually called the tear off sign language symbol. But it's not sign language. Yeah, this is like sign language to a computer. It's subject to interpretation. Now, some of you know about the fact that you could right-click and it brings up a menu including open this tab as a new window or new window maximized. So what happens with this bug that's not a feature, but that was a feature, it wasn't really a bug, back in 2011 now? Some websites have a habit of consuming so much bandwidth and processor cycles that it makes it to where your web browser can't do timing or distance change movements on your mouse. So the mouse suddenly jumps because YouTube was overloading the browser and making it to where it couldn't interpret anything correctly. That's what happened. This almost only happened on pages that had YouTube enabled because it's doing its little auto page update where it jiggles the entire interface around. Some of you witnessed that. It doesn't do it on modern browsers, on tablets or cell phones, but it'll do it on any computer, any desktop computer. Why? Because they don't give a shit. There are more cell phones and more tablets out there and more Arduinos or whatever. Not Arduinos. But there's more computers based on using these minimalized systems than the maximalized system I'm using. And the fucked up part about this, on this computer with much more processing cycle, it overheats the browser, overheats the computer, and runs more cycles than needed. Which makes no sense. So, let's combine them together. The emphasis on tablet and cell phones, and ignoring or hating on PCs, because they're a minority now. Make your jokes. Also, I should point out that most web browsers for cell phones and tablets auto-update only to things that work. PCs, we get told to update to something that breaks the whole fucking computer all the time, but not on cell phones. The companies that run the cell phone operating systems made it to where unless the thing's been tested to death, you can't update to it. They won't let you because they don't want to deal with the tech support calls. It's their call. So, no beta testing anywhere, unless you manually do it. Meanwhile, us PC users and Mac users get beta bullshit. And again, I should point out, the user interface on websites can be customized for cell phones or whatever, but on YouTube, they basically just shake the interface and try to fuck it up. So all that combined together. And then last, yes, on my web browser, I did alter the tab behavior by doing a couple of hacks. Okay, well, I ran a blank copy that hasn't had any alteration. It not only did the same thing, it did it more often. So it's not my plugins, it's not a virus website, it's not pop-ups from malware, it's not because YouTube did it. It's because Mozilla Firefox was written by the Mozilla Foundation, and in 2011, they added a feature that no one asked for using a gesture or sign language-like behavior that crapped out so bad that people have been bitching about it for 9 fucking years before they finally said, okay, we'll let you turn it off after 9 fucking years. This is like Google Plus. Eventually they admit it. Yeah, it's a stupid idea. We'll disable it. God damn it. Okay, I'm done. The rant's over. No, it's not. Hypertext markup language, or hypertext. The idea that you would take what is basically a newspaper and add in magical features. You know, like in Harry Potter books, where you click here, you touch the picture of the weird obelisk, and you click it, and suddenly you're teleported to the obelisk painting, or it opens to the page on it. How magical. Yeah, we call that the internet. You're all used to it, but really, this is magic. So every once in a while, we get black magic happening. We shouldn't call it black magic. Let's call it shit magic. Yeah, the rant isn't over with. Some dickwad in 2011 could have fixed this problem by making it optional. And it's still not optional. It's a hidden feature. Fuck! And again, a lot of us didn't like Mozilla Foundation making Firefox have missing features, ripping away capabilities, throwing away the menu bar. I know it works better on a cell phone not to have all these features, but I'm not on a cell phone, you fuckwads. Same thing with the tablet. Hell, on the tablet, you can use the PC features. Oh, that's right, you're using that low-res 640 by 480 screen, thinking it's a super uber high-tech thing. I'm okay now. So yeah, I'm a little abandoned. If you're on a PC, if you're on a Mac or a PC, you're being shit on. The PC version of any web browser or any program should have the ability for you to say, I'm disabling features I don't use. Some programs even include, you don't use these capabilities and there are in the menu. Would you like to hide them? They'll still be available if you go on the menu and hit show all menu items. It'll optimize your workload. It won't really hide them, it just gets them out of the way. It's the difference. Put them on the shelf. That's what we do naturally. Does anybody remember when they got the Google email and it wouldn't let you put things in folders? Because that's how we organize things. Oh, you won't need to. In the future, it will search for everything, which means you can hide things from me and act like you didn't mean to. They also wouldn't let you delete spam. Remember that? I remember. Do you remember? Yeah, we remember, Barry. Yeah. And that's the other thing. Web browsers should have a very dynamic interface that you can hit the reset it, I fucked it up button. Video games should have these abilities. Our ability to dominate our computers shouldn't be a fucking preference. It's not a preference. It's an order. So when I loaded up, it's at this point, I think 8 different hacks to put the operating system in a certain way and put my browser a certain way, having some random utility routine come along and undo it or just harass me for doing it. Yes, there might be a utility or function in there that says, oh, you modified it to where the tabs are where you want them. Well, I'm just going to make it to where it randomly opens Windows, acting like a virus. That was my suspicion. I thought it was a virus too. That's rational. Now I find out it's some pencil neck asshat from 2011 or before who wouldn't admit it was a feature they added in, and they kept calling it a bug. And they only fixed it when people finally pinned them down, squirming and squealing, when they finally admitted, yes, I did it. Actually, it wasn't. The person who did it quit. Somebody else admitted it. So anyway, again, disable tab detach or tear off is a add-on we have to use to undo a fuck-up someone caused before 2011 because they wanted a gesture-based feature no one asked for. Maybe it was a placeholder. And it was only supposed to work if you pull down. It does it when you pull up. Tear off implies upward, but let's ignore that. Now, down below, you'll also find a listing of other features that might affect this. Don't mess with them unless you want to experiment. You've been warned. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with that. Yes, this was a fuck up. It was a thing that they did on purpose, and they tried to hide it after a while. And yes, this is a pattern of behavior with shitty companies.